Hey guys, it's Glow. I'm back with another video. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. Today I'll be sharing my testimony, and I'm sharing my testimony because my life kind of like depends on it. And I know that may sound extreme for some people, but I'm in a space right now. The outcome of my life is going to be determined by my obedience to God. And I've lived disobediently, and I don't want to do that anymore. It's like I've been in the all in or nothing, it's all in or nothing when it comes to God. And so I've been being obedient, and I'm gonna be honest, it's been hurting. A lot of things have been shifting in my life. A lot of relationships have came to an end, but that's okay because I serve a God that He removes and replaces, and it always gets better and better and better. And even if He don't replace it immediately, it's okay. The waiting process is okay. The unknown is okay, because I trust God and I know God enough to know that wherever He has me, I'm gonna be okay. And so I have to be obedient in sharing my testimony because it can set some people free. It can inspire others to share their testimony. And most importantly, my story may reach someone who wants to accept Jesus Christ as their Lord or Savior. It may help someone that may watch this that may feel like they're going through something alone, right? So even though I don't want to relive and think about any other things that I'm about to share, it's not about me. It's all about giving all glory and honor to God and thanking Him for His grace and His mercy and helping others. So I'm going to start with when I was born. I was born at 24 weeks. I was 1 pound 8 ounces. I was clearly premature. My family and my parents' friends would say, "Oh, Gloria, you were so small we could fit you in a cup," or "You were so small we could hold you in the palm of our hand." I had really bad breathing issues, so asthma and other complications. And my mom would always tell me, when you were a baby, I used to have to monitor your breathing. She wouldn't sleep sometimes because she had to make sure that I was breathing. One night, my mom was telling my dad, "Hey, is something wrong with Gloria? I don't think she's breathing right. Something doesn't feel right." And my dad was like, "Oh, she's probably fine." My mom was like, "No, I know my child. I'm taking her to the hospital." So as soon as I get to the hospital, I have an asthma attack. No, as soon as I get to the hospital, my mom says the doctors are checking on me, saying everything is fine. My mom said, "No, it's not. Something is wrong with my child." I know. My mom said she leaves out of the hospital room. She comes back, and I've literally turned blue. So I was coding, or whatever the medical term is. But they rush in and do whatever they need to do for me. And clearly, I'm healthy and I'm alive. But so while I'm in the hospital during this time, the house that I'm in right now catches fire. If I was here, I would have died because of the smoke. So clearly, starting it off strong, God got a plan for me for whatever reason that He has. So that is what I know of my life based on other people. But from my recollection, I'm going to start at the age of 6 or 7. That's when my parents got a divorce. So now my parents are divorced, and I'm living in between 2 different households, which means 2 different ways of living and 2 different, I'm not going to say spiritual beliefs, but 2 different ways to go about dealing with God. And so at my dad's house, his rules were put God first and your sobriety second. He would drill that into our heads. I am 25 years old. He still says it to me this day. Keep God first and your sobriety second. And so his rule at his house was, if you are under his roof, you are going to church. So every time I was with my dad, we would go to church. At my mom's house, she was indifferent. She didn't really care if we went to church or not. She would never stop us, but we did what we kind of wanted to do in the context of if we wanted to go to church. But at one point, I think for a good year or two as a family at my mom's house, we went to church consistently. And in that time, I got baptized. And my mom, unfortunately, did like step away from the church because of some hurt that she experienced. But she didn't stop us or like bash church to us. We could still go if we wanted to. So some Sundays, my dad would pick me up and go to church, or me and my sibling would go to church. And so during this time at this young age, and I'm gonna break it down, how my memory goes is like where I was at in school. So from like a young age to like middle school is what I'm talking about right now. I was spiritually, I didn't know God. I just felt like, okay, this is what good people do, and if you want to go to heaven, this is what you got to do. You go to church every Sunday, and if you got a little money, you give it during your tithes and offerings, and you thank God for waking you up, and you thank Him when you come in the house, and then you bless your food. That's it. I didn't have an intimate, authentic relationship with God, and yeah, that's what it was. Up until middle school, I would go to church when I'm at my dad's house. If I'm at my mom's house, we would go to church, or sometimes I would go to church with my dad. And so that's where I was at spiritually. Everything else, like mentally and emotionally, at a young age, anxiety and depression and indecisiveness and emotional inconsistency started with me. And now that I'm older, I reflect that back to my parents' divorce. Not that I wanted them together or anything, but I didn't understand the complexities of an adult relationship. So I was just really like internalizing their emotions. So, and they would sometimes go at each other through me, and even they swear up and down they didn't, but they did. And yeah, I was just internalizing a lot of emotions that I didn't understand, still while trying to figure out who I am. And it was just a lot. I was anxious, I was up and down emotionally, because when my parents would get into it, they would get into it, and then that would cause like strife at like from one household to the other household, and then everything would be fine again, and then it would drop again, and then everything would be fine again for a little while, and it would drop again. So it's always these emotional, just up and down. And then I'm the youngest out of my two older siblings, so they weren't home. I was kind of at a certain point, like after one of my siblings went off to college, I was basically like felt like the only child because my siblings weren't around. So that's pretty much where I was at spiritually. Also, I want to make note, I was exposed to pornography and I learned about masturbation at a very young age. The seed was planted and it bloomed in high school. So now I'm about to go over like the 4 years of my high school. So spiritually, I was lukewarm. Again, going to church because I'm at my dad's house, I have to, or going to church sometimes at my mom's house. I think a few times I would lie to my dad and be like, yeah, I went to church today, and I didn't, just so I didn't have to go. But other than that, I was just lukewarm. And I wouldn't even say lukewarm because, well, no, I was lukewarm. I ain't even gonna do that. I was lukewarm. I just, again, I didn't know God. I was doing what I thought I had to do and doing what I thought was the right thing at the time. So that's where I was at spiritually. Physically, like my parents now, because I'm older, they were okay. They weren't arguing as much, so things got better at this time. Like I have a stepdad now, so he was in my life. Things were a bit different, and a lot of the pain and all of the anger feelings that they had weren't at each other as much anymore. So in high school, I would consider myself an average student. I did what I had to do to get good grades because my parents ain't play that. But I wasn't like a excellent student. I didn't strive for all of that. I just did what I needed to do. Um, I would consider myself to be meek at the time. Just real like fly under the radar type person. I had a few friends in high school, and they all, not all of them, but a good portion of them smoked weed, and that I'll get into that a little bit later as well. But going into my ninth grade year, I meet my first boyfriend. First guy that's ever shown me any type of attention, applied pressure, and showed me any romantic attention. And that's when that lust and like insecurity started to bloom in my life. And I wrote down my testimony on my phone, so just bear with me. I'm kind of reading off my notes. So though I never went the full way in high school, if you get what I'm saying, my boyfriend at the time would, kind of peer pressure me and try to get me to go the full way, but I never did, and that caused us to be on and off. So, and then when we were off, he would deal with other girls, and so basically that relationship lasted for 8 years, but I'm focusing on the first 4 because it's a lot. So within the first 4 years specifically for this relationship, again, he would peer pressure me to, kind of go the full way, but I never did. Like I said, we were on and off. When we were off a few times, he dealt with other girls, and all of that like messed with my self-confidence and made me feel even more secure, made me feel not good enough, and started comparing myself between different girls, and just started feeling real low about myself. After my 10th grade year of high school, my boyfriend transferred to a different high school, and then he had went off into the military. So after 10th grade, he's not in my world no more. He's in my world, but he's not physically there. So now I'm back to myself. And now because the lust had bloomed, I'm now associating pornography and masturbation to a good feeling. So every time I'm sad, anytime I'm depressed, anytime I just want to block something out, or I start to get worried, I'm going to lustful activities. Now, I want to circle back to my friends who I said smoke weed. One week in particular, I was just down. I don't know. I was just always up and down emotionally, and it seemed like every person I was talking to at this time was telling me how good weed was and how it make you feel and this and that. And so I was with one of my friends one day and smoked some weed, and it didn't do anything for me. So I didn't smoke weed again until college, but I returned back to those lustful activities just as my high. So just to recap, I'm in my first relationship. Lust is in full effect. I'm insecure, still trying to figure out who I am, where I want to go in life, what I want to do career-wise. Spiritually, I'm lukewarm. I still don't know God on an intimate level. And I tried weed for the first time, and I'm still dealing with that anxiety and depression. And yeah, so that's where I'm at. But through it all, God still allowed me to see in the spirit realm. And so now I'm about to get into that time that I was able to see a demonic entity, demonic figure. And I saw with my own eyes, as clear as day. And yeah, so even through all of that, even through me not knowing God on a personal level, like, he still allowed me to see in the spiritual realm. And I'm about to share the experience of when I saw a demonic entity, a demonic figure. So I have to give you all some context first. My mother always threw parties. She threw so many parties. That's her thing. My mom likes to celebrate life, celebrate holidays, celebrate people. It don't matter the occasion. If she can buy a birthday cake and some decorations or whatever, she gonna do it for you. And so like she would throw parties. I lived in Northeast Washington, D.C., and if you know anything about the D.C. area, it ain't no space for real. And she would get horses and ponies and we would ride them up and down the alley, or she would get moon bounces and snow cone machines and have puppet shows and just a whole bunch of stuff. And so she was just really into celebrating life, and any reason to get our family together, she would. And we had a big family, lots of aunts and uncles and cousins. And so if you look at that from a spiritual standpoint, there's a lot of different spirits in one space. And for more context, my sibling, one of my siblings, is a very spiritual person. They always, it wasn't abnormal to see them praising and worshiping and going to church or reading their Bible. That was just in their normal behavior from what I saw. And so one day I come home from school, my siblings in the house, anointing our house with oil, putting crosses on our front door and our bedrooms, everywhere through the house, and praying. I said, okay, that's just my sibling being them. A week later, I'm in my basement washing clothes. I come upstairs, I'm walking through my kitchen, my dining room, and my living room. Front door is wide open. I'm looking out the screen door. I see my mom pacing back and forth on the phone. Cool. Go up the steps, going into my bedroom. How our banisters are set up on our stairs is that you could peek through. So I could see the front door in the living room through the banisters. So, I'm walking up the steps and I see something out the corner of my eye. I'm thinking, okay, my mom about to walk in the house. Is my mom coming in the house? I'm going to go downstairs and talk to her. It was not my mother. My mother is still pacing back and forth on the phone. I look at my screen door and there is at least 6 foot tall demonic black shadow figure with horns coming out of his head, muscles bulging out of his arm and legs. And I say at least 6 feet tall because my stepdad was 6'6", so he had to duck down just a few inches to get into our front door. So at the minimum, this demonic entity was 6 feet. And yeah. So I'm staring at this thing, and the first thing I hear is don't be scared, it can't get to you. That's the first thing I've heard. The first time I've ever heard the Holy Spirit speak to me, or God, or all of them. Like, that's the first time I've heard a voice, and that was not mine. And I heard, don't be scared, it can't get to you. I said, okay. I'm still wiping my eyes, looking around, seeing if this is real. Don't move. So I said, okay, it's real. And I said, why can't my mom see it? I said, why can't my mom see it? I didn't hear anything. And then I hear again, it's mad because it can't get in. I said, okay, but why can't my mom see it? Because literally it would be behind my mom. My mom's walking back and forth with her back towards our front door. Why can't my mom see this thing? Because it's tall and it's right there. It didn't move. I'm not tripping. I'm not high. I'm not, tripping out, So it was real. And I said, okay, it can't get to me. And for some reason, I didn't see a face on it, didn't see eyes or a mouth or anything like that. It was just a black shadow, like a silhouette. And I just knew it was facing towards our house, like towards our door. So I said, okay, it can't get to me. I said, okay. And then I just went upstairs. And after that, I started praying a lot more. And I started listening in church. Spiritually, it didn't catapult me. But I was doing just a little bit more than I was. And I was on YouTube looking up like demon shadows. Like, what does that mean? I started watching people's testimonies and things like that. And yeah, I didn't tell nobody that up until like a couple years ago. But that's what I saw. That's what God allowed me to see. And I think in that moment, it was just to show like, hey, it ain't a game out here. It's something out here. And there was other instances where I wasn't driving. My mom was driving home. We was driving home from like running errands, and we were at a red light. Group of teenagers walk across the street. One of them turns around. Their eyes are pitch black, no white, all black eyes. said, that's creepy. And then one day I'm in the house, I lose my house keys. And I tell my mom, she's downstairs going off. Mind you, I'm the only kid in the house. My two siblings are older than me. So it was just me. I'm looking everywhere for my keys. I look everywhere. I flip my room inside out, look in every other room, look downstairs, look in my book bag, look everywhere. I go downstairs to look. I come back upstairs. The keys are sitting on my bed. And my mom did not go upstairs. So stuff like that to like, it's really like, unexplainable. And I'm like, God, thank you. If you put my keys there, thanks, But me, it was weird at the time, but stuff like that was happening. And I was kind of curious of like, what does all of this mean, And so that's pretty much how I was in high school. Still lukewarm, but I was kind of searching a little bit more. I didn't realize God was trying to get my attention, but yeah, I was still here with God, not really doing no more or no less. Now I'm in college, but I'm going to expand this part of my testimony from my time at Norfolk State University. That was undergrad for me. And then I started grad school in 2020, graduated in 2022, and now it's 2024. So I'm going to kind of lump all of that in together. So now I'm in college. Again, I went to Norfolk State University for undergrad, and the first 2 years of college were horrible for me. Not academic, well, a little bit academically, but more so mentally and emotionally. It was my first, I'm a sheltered kid, so I was used to being, with my mom, and I wasn't used to being away from home, and I hated it. I called my mom and said, Mom, I want to come home. I'll go to school back in DC. She said, no, you're not coming home. You always like to run away from your problems, and you're not going to do it. You're going to stay there, and you're going to figure it out, and it's going to get better. Love you, bye. And I said, oh, but I'm glad that she made me stay, because I wouldn't be where I am today. But so I didn't like college for the first 2 years, because I wasn't doing anything. I was just going to class and going to my room. I wasn't involved in anything, and I was waiting for my boyfriend to get out of basic training so we could just be together. And my mind wasn't focused. I wasn't focused. And spiritually, I'm dead in a sense, because I no longer have anyone forcing me to go to church, so I don't go. I don't really God is really at this point on the back burner until I need him. And I quickly realized that I needed him. But my relationship with God was not active on my part. And I say on my part because, again, I still had another spiritual experience that I'll share, and he gave me another vision, and he had his hand on me for real, like whether I knew it or not. So first year of college sucked. Boo, wanted to go home. Mom said no. So I'm back my second year of college. My boyfriend is now out, like in the military, but he's in college, and we're very close to each other. So if I'm not in class, I'm with him, and if I'm not with him, I'm in class. That's really what it was. I was up under him 24/7. I would skip class to be with him. If we got into a fight, then I would go to class, but then go right back over with him. I also want to say, speak on soul ties for a second. I was lost individually, and I'll get into that, but I want to talk about one of the spiritual experiences that I had. I don't even want to call it a spiritual experience. It wasn't a positive thing, but God uses everything for his good. So with my boyfriend, clearly I didn't go the full way in high school, but I did in college, and it was, cool. I'm doing it as my boyfriend, and this is what people in relationships are supposed to do. But on a particular day, I had a very high emotional day. I was very happy. I was very upbeat. I was happy. And my boyfriend at the time was not. And, he was like, oh, if we do this, it'll make me feel better. And da-da-da. I'm like, okay, it's my boyfriend. I'll make him feel better, da-da-da. And literally within the act, I felt my body jolted. Like my body jumped. I don't know if you ever like twitched before, but like think of a like a jump or a shiver, like at the extreme level, my body just shook. And I was like, okay, that was weird, but after the act, I felt so depressed and so sad. I started crying. Literally, I just started crying. And he was consoling me and he was just so happy, and I was just so disgusted with myself because I did something that I really didn't want to do, and now I have these emotions that I didn't even have before this started. Like, I was fine. And so soul ties are real. That's all I want to say. That happened, I'm gonna say, like my second year of college, and so I'm up under my boyfriend, and that's just what it is for my second year. I felt a little better because, again, my boyfriend's like 10 minutes away from me. And then, so third year of college, I said, look, when I go back, I'm getting involved. I'm gonna get into a student organization. I majored in mass comm. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna meet some people. I'm gonna do some stuff, and I just go to my room all the time. And I did, and I made a few friends, and I made some friends, joined the organization, got a little bit more active, and it was really cool. I had some friends I started going to church with, but I also was going to the club with some friends and drinking, and I smoked weed again, and again, I was lost and trying to grasp onto something to like give me an identity because I didn't have one, because I always been up under my parents or in a relationship, or I hadn't figured me out yet because I didn't know the person, God, who created me. I didn't know me. I didn't know my purpose. So again, I was doing all these things but going through the motions, but me making friends and going out and things caused some conflict in my relationship because he thought I was changing and acting brand new, but to me, like I said, I'm just trying to figure things out and link to anything that could help figure me out, that I thought could help figure me out. And so that caused more conflict, and me and his relationship got more toxic mentally and emotionally and physically on both ends. And it got to a point where like the relationship was draining me, and I'm like, okay, I don't want this no more, God, but the person I'm close enough to graduate college, and this person was in the military. They want to marry me, they want to have a kid with me. And I'm like, God, look, like, I don't know what I want in life, but I know I don't want that. And so God gave me a vision. I went to sleep that night, and it was almost like I was watching a show on Netflix of my entire life. From the moment I graduated, to me marrying this person, to me having a baby with this person, I felt every emotion that the future me felt. It was like, I call it my nightmare, but I don't know what I should call it. It was a wake-up call, I guess. But God, I asked God to show me what should I be with this person, or what my life would be like. And he showed me. He gave me what I asked for, and it scared me. And I said, God, okay, I don't want that, and I need you to help me get out this relationship. And so he did. A few more things happened that we ended the relationship for good. Did I give myself time to heal? No. So I got in a relationship right after, and that relationship spanned from my senior year of college to my 2 years in grad school. So that relationship lasted 3 years. And so again, my first relationship ended, still very lukewarm. Now COVID has hit. I don't have a graduation ceremony. I just gotta spend my birthday in the house. What else happened? All the internships and jobs I applied to and had interviews with, they all fell through because of COVID. Now I'm scared and I'm fearing about my future. I don't know what's next. I don't know God enough to know that I can go to him and talk to him and ask him and trust him. So now I applied for grad school, and I started grad school. I finished undergrad in May of 2020. I started grad school in July of 2020. So start grad school, and I'm in a long distance relationship, and I'm still lost. you know. I'm not going to spend too much time on this relationship. It lasted for 3 years. Don't have anything bad to say about that relationship or that person. It's just when you don't take time to heal, it's going to come up and it's going to come out of you. And all the lust issues that I had definitely amped up in this relationship. And all of my insecurity was still there. And again, I was still lost, but I'm thinking, like, I don't know how to be single. I was in an 8-year relationship, so I feel like I need a relationship. And I just, again, grabbing onto anything that I think would bring me some type of wholeness. And so that relationship, because of that relationship, I feel like lasted 3 years too long. Yeah, it lasted longer than it should have. And so that was pretty much that for the relationship. But during the pandemic, that same sibling that prayed over the house came up to me and was like, "Hey, you want to fast with me?" I said, "Sure." Okay. I'd heard about fasting, but I was like, what is this for? And they were like, "We're going to, get closer to God." And I said, "Okay, I need that, because I don't know what's going on in my life. I need something." And we did the 21-day Daniel fast, and we weren't concerned about the food. That wasn't even the focus. I was looking for some answers, and that fast changed my life. And so the Daniel fast really changed my life. I was on fire for God. I was reading my Bible like never before. I was watching sermons. I was just doing a lot. I was taking notes. God was speaking to me through the word. Like it was different. I had never experienced anything like that. And I'm like, wow, like this fullness, this love. Yeah, during that time, God was just blessing me. I found a church that I could go to all by myself. I wasn't forced to go to church, but at that point, God had just been talking to me and kind of showing up in my life that I just, I ain't mind going to church if it was going to make me feel good and feel, like this. So I went to church. I found a church community, like a life group to like fellowship with people. God blessed me with a job I didn't have to apply for. Like, it was a lot of blessings. And then in the midst of this fast too and everything good happening, God tells me, you need to go tell somebody you've been watching pornography and your struggles with masturbation. Literally. I was sitting on my bed and that's what came to me. I said, absolutely not. I said, that's not happening. And the devil's on my shoulder. Why are you going to tell somebody that? People are going to look at you weird. That's weird. You need to keep that to yourself. And then it was like, well, everybody does it, so who cares? Like, I was so confused. But see, God, like he's done all throughout my life, I can't do bad things. Like, and I'm not saying I'm not perfect. I'm not saying I'm perfect or anything, but what I mean by that is like, if I'm intentionally going out here and doing stuff, God will make a fool out of me. I will not get no peace. I will not get no rest. He will disturb me. And it's always been like that. Like, people could do this at the club, and I'm like, I can't do that. Like, why can't I do it? Everybody else getting away with it. I can't be the one to could never get away with nothing, because God gonna make me feel it. And so he's telling me, you need to go tell somebody. And I'm like, I don't want to tell nobody because everybody will think I'm weird and creepy. But the feeling was so strong on me, I couldn't sit down. I could not sleep. So I went and told my sibling that I was doing the fast with. And they were like, wow, like you're transparency, like wow, like they were just so proud of me and so happy that I shared that. And then I was like, okay, well, that's one person. Let me go tell my parents. And me and my parents have really like a close bond. I can tell them anything. And I told them, and then they were supportive. And I was like, wow. I said, well, let me tell a few friends. And I told them, and that got mixed reactions. But, for the most part, everybody was like proud and just so happy that I was being transparent. I'm like, look, I didn't want to do that. God told me to do it, because I wouldn't have told y'all none of this. For real, it was all God. But I felt so free when I did it because I know the enemy wanted me to shut up and he wanted me to stay quiet and he wanted me to stay in silent torment, which is what pornography and masturbation does. But it also gives you an ego because even though my sin was being done in secrecy and my addiction was being done in secrecy, and I do call it an addiction because it was extreme. And even though mine was being done in secrecy, I was being judgmental to people who was getting high all the time and drinking all the time, whose addictions you could see. And God was like, hold up. You are no different. You going through this. So let me tell you about yourself. And so God put that on me to be transparent, and I'm so thankful that he did, because it didn't just help me, but it just made a breakthrough in my family too, about how deep we could go in our talks and our transparencies with each other, so just took that to another level too. And even to this day, I've told people about my struggles with lust, and I have people that can hold me accountable, and I would never have that if I would have never told anybody. So that's like the biggest thing that came out that fast, and I'm so grateful to God for it. So after the fast, things were good. I was working, going to church, but I still struggled with sin. And I'm going to read word for word what I wrote down in my phone. I wrote my testimony now a couple weeks ago, but me sharing my testimony has been on my mind since college. But I've always let my negative self-doubt, my negative self-talk win. I've always let the enemy win of trying to feel like I had to be perfect, trying to feel like I had to have it all together, trying to feel like I have to have everything all polished to even go to God or even to share with other people what I've been through. And that's not the case. If I was perfect, there would be no reason for Jesus, and I need Jesus. So now that I know that's not true, God is waiting for you and me open arms, whether we fell short or we backslid, or whether you're not even there with him yet. He's waiting for you, and he's ready to use you. He's ready to use you wherever you are now. So I'm going to read for you word for word what I wrote. I said, it wasn't until recently, literally 1 week ago, that I realized I can't do this life alone. I can't keep trying to overcome sin without the help of God. It's impossible. There's nothing that I can do outside of God that will make me feel complete and as free as God does. There's not enough money, there's not enough sex, there's not enough weed, there's not enough liquor, there's not enough spending time gossiping, there's not enough of any sin to keep us satisfied. Giving yourself to this world will leave you depleted and empty, but God keeps us full. Jesus is the key to the handcuffs that I've had on since I was a kid. He's the key to the handcuffs I put on myself. Within the past 2 years, my relationship, so it's 2024 now, but between 2020 and 2024, my relationship ended with someone that I was madly in love with. My grandmother passed away. I had graduated from grad school in 2022, and I was unemployed for over 6 months. And I was lost, and I had a sibling that I hadn't spoken to for 10 years. So with all this emotional ups and downs, I was still falling back into that sin pattern. And when I got to know God for real, he broke through all of that pain. And me and my sibling, we back in each other's lives like we ain't never left. God blessed me with a job I didn't have to apply for. He helped me grieve my grandmother, and he helped me grieve that relationship and do a lot of self-reflecting on how I can better myself, And I put life is going to be life. I just rather choose to do life with Christ instead of on my own. The more I learn about Jesus, the more it's like he's holding that mirror up to me and showing me how to better myself through him. My testimony isn't done yet. It's really just the beginning for me. I'm still learning and growing. I just wanted to share who God is to me. He's the Lord of my life and the ultimate love of my life. God is who I never knew I needed, and God is who I never thought I could have. I never thought, I'm not gonna cry, but I never thought that I could really have love like this. And I've been in relationships, and my parents love me, and friends love me, but the love of God make your heart feel like it's about to burst. And I never knew that something like that could be real, and I don't want to live without it. And so God has a plan for me and you, even if we don't know it yet. But what we should know is that we serve a God, or you have the ability and opportunity to serve a God who's going to be with you every step of the way. So that's my story. I'm glad I got it off my chest, and I hope that it can inspire you to share your testimony. And I hope this inspires you to be a part in advancing the kingdom of God in any way that you can. And if you don't know Jesus, you can accept him as your Lord and Savior. So